out different shapes and volumes. Quiet down a little bit, you guys. Seek out different shapes and volumes really, really fast and easy. The trick to Liquify tool is just setting it up right in the very, very beginning. Using the Liquify tool to find it, it's going to be in your filters. And there's Liquify right there. If you're using my hotkeys, which I'm just going to jump into really quick, it will be Control Q on my hotkeys because I use the Liquify tool constantly, so I make sure I have a really quick and easy accessible tool for it. So you just Control Q, and that's going to send us into the Liquify tool itself, which is a whole nother portion of the Photoshop program. Now, right when you get into Liquify, first thing you want to do is go to Advanced Mode. Right? Click on that Advanced Mode so you get some extra options. And go down to Show Backdrop. And it's really hard to kind of do your liquifying against this type of a backdrop, but you're going to get some kind of weird blendy results. So what you want to do is do Show Backdrop, change the backdrop to your actual backdrop, your solid backdrop layer. So notice how it says Use. I'm going to change that to background really quick, and then my opacity all the way up to 100%, and make sure the mode is behind so that you can actually see your drawing. It's hard to see my actual drawing up there. Let me double up this drawing really quick. Thicken the hell out of her. So hopefully you guys can see it a little bit better. Again, I'll Control Q for that. Use my background behind, set for 100, that's all good. Can you guys see the character a little bit better up there?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so there's a few different application modes that are over here on the left-hand side, not that many. They're pretty straightforward in terms of what they do. I will say 98% of the time I'm using the very, very first application, which is basically just put your finger in and move things around. Right? The very, very center of my icon where you see that cross, that's where it's going to have the most amount of effect or movement. The outside portions of that circle are going to be, it's almost like an airbrush. It falls off as far as the amount of influence that it has. So I actually used the Liquify tool quite a bit when I was designing her, so I'm going to come in here a little bit, and I was using the Liquify tool on her face a lot when I was trying to figure out how to kind of find a blend between like a human and an analog face. So this is where Liquify tools are great. Getting into your line drawing after your line drawing is pretty much finished and trying to make some changes. So Liquify tools are going to work very, very similar to your smudge tool, only it's going to work a lot cleaner. So wherever I want to make sure I have the strongest amount of influence, I'm just going to click and drag. And so I can start to maybe move this eye back a little bit. Maybe redesign the shape of the eye a touch. A little bit more of like an alien feel. Maybe I don't want that bump in the nose, or maybe I want more of a bump in the nose, right? So it's a little bit more animalistic, or maybe I want less bump in the nose. So she has a little bit more of a Romanesque kind of a profile. I can use it to come out here, extend my antlers out, right? Just really, really quickly get some longer ears. Maybe broaden up her shoulders a bit. I use it a lot to back out and get an overall shape in my design. So I'll look at a lot of you guys. I've came around and said, "Oop, we got some column poses going on," right? I'm sure a lot of you guys remember me saying that. Meaning our poses are a little bit squared off. Meaning our shoulders and our pelvis and everything are kind of lining up, and they're creating more rectangular shapes in our character as opposed to these arches and S-shaped curves. And this is a great tool to go in here and start to kind of push out the chest a little bit. Get a stronger arc in that back, maybe push that pelvis around. All right. So Liquify tool is a wonderful tool in this respect. It maintains the integrity of a lot of the line work that you have while just being able to move it around and treating it almost like clay, right? So you can just push and pull those concepts around. So between that Liquify tool and again, like I said, that pivot point that a lot of you have said that you didn't realize that this was what it was for, but taking lasso tools, so my freehand lasso, grabbing my elbow right here. I'm just going to cut right through this hand, just outside of the arm. Let it go. So I have this arm area in my lasso, And now I'm going to free transform. And when you free transform, don't forget you have this little circle, this little target right in the middle of that transform tool right here that I'm on. This is your pivot point for your transform tool. So these are great for relocating your poses. So I'll take this little pivot point and put it up here at this little elbow junction right here, and basically just pivot that elbow out a little bit. Right, come back out, maybe slide it over just a touch. Right, so I can basically get some really quick changes in my posing. Right, so using that pivot point again, if I just go ahead and lasso that guy. Control F for free transform, moving that pivot point to the elbow joint, and then basically moving this guy around. Do the same thing, I'll deselect, grab the wrist area, Control F, move that pivot point to the wrist junction. Hey!
Oh my God.
Right? He's over there. So, point being, those two specific tools, you can get a lot of modifications with your already existing silhouette, particularly if your silhouette's solidified or whatnot, just between your warp tools, your transform tools, your distort tools, your liquify tools, your puppeteer tools, and whatnot. Right? So the thing with that liquify tool, again, what you want to remember the most is first just how to get there through that filter option, filter, and then down to liquify. Once you've done it, make sure you're on the layer, because it only liquefies specifically what's on that specific layer. And then definitely advanced mode, go down to your show backdrop, make sure that you're using just your background layer for that backdrop, make sure it's set for behind, and turn that opacity up to 100%. Otherwise, you're going to find some weird kind of ghosting features happening as you're liquefying and moving things around. Let's give her super long fingers. Kind of creepy. Whatnot. And I can even kind of liquefy fix some of these little distortions that I had before. Flatten out her face a little bit, make her a little bit more human now. So again, like especially with faces, take care, Quinn.
Yep.
Especially with faces, you know, I can go back and forth from a human face so quickly. Or at least a little bit more of a human shape in that face. Just by liquefying around a bit. Right, like so. Or just get crazy. Really push the envelope, take her back into kind of more animalistic kind of a feel, right? So you give yourself a lot of options very, very quickly to play around with as far as sizes. And the nice part about it is you can just press OK, come back out, take a look at it, and then here just use your undo key to check. Oh, do I like this or do I like that? This, that, this, that, this, that, this, that, and then you can kind of keep the changes if you like them. But it gives you a real easy method of weighing your options out and just exploring your options, seeing what those options are. You know, take a couple minutes, move some things around, activate that, back out of it, Control Z, go back and forth, see if you like it, maybe just like a particular modification, go back in, change that or whatnot. Okay? So Liquify tool, really, really good tool in that respect. Make sure you guys are savvy with it.